if you want to grow and evolve to be the best version of yourself, the thing that you need to do is continue to increase your human capital. And what I mean by that is to join groups with people that are doing something a bit better than you. And, they can help you rise up. But when you start rising up, one of the best things that you can do is reach down and help pull someone up. But in 2014, I went through my biggest challenge in life, which changed my whole vision and perspective of life. And my wife and I, we lost our first son, who was a stillborn baby. And from that led to me building out a personal brand. And that was around the whole idea, which is what I said in my son's funeral. My son didn't get one breath on the planet. We're all in the game. Go out there and make the most of your one shot at life.
One of the things that asked the most, especially in my live events or on my AMAs online, is how do I ask mentors for their time? How do I ask them to mentor me? When you mentioned investing in meaningful relationships, it's kind of like the same approach, right? Where you go to a person and just hit them up. What are your thoughts on that? How do you do it?
Yeah, look, I'll share a quick story with your audience. It's probably the biggest lesson that changed my life. It's how I got my first mentor. And it happened through extreme gratitude and generosity. Now, what happened there, like a lot of people do things with this, I'll do this for you if you do this for me type of expectation. And that can work. And I'm not against that. But what happened to me when I started off my business career, I was approached by a professional basketball team. So that, they play at the highest level, they're on TV every week. And they said, hey, would you be interested in sponsoring me? And again, business alchemy come out of me then. I said, well, I don't really have the money to be a sponsor, but if you have a raffle, maybe I can give you 10, 12-month memberships, which were about $1,500 each, and you can raffle and make, $15,000. How would that go? And they were like extremely grateful. So what happened there was time went on, a lady comes in, she was a player's wife. And she goes, oh, thank you for the 12-month membership. I'm going to give you 8 basketball tickets to watch my husband play this week. And I put the 8 basketball tickets in my drawer. Now, a week goes by and a young family comes into my gym and they love the gym and they're all signing up. And it was, say, it's $140 per person per month membership. So nearly $500 a month off this family and or a bit over $500. And I just pull the basketball tickets out and I give it to the family. Now, that I didn't know who they were or anything, but what happened was this guy was a really, really highly successful businessman. And he comes back into my gym on Monday and he says, Craig, that was extremely generous of you. We've got a corporate box at the football, the where you get 50,000 people into the games to network with like 12 guests. You can be my guest this week. Now, this guy is not only a dear friend of me, but he took me under his wing as a 22-year-old. He taught me how to invest in property. He taught me how to, which is where I've made my most money now. He taught me how to navigate finance through the global financial crisis. He's helped me when I've invested in private companies. For the last 20 years, he's been a constant go-to person for me. Now, if I didn't use those basketball tickets, who's to say that he would have ever invited me to his corporate box the next day? So the point is, sometimes to get your foot in the door, you nearly need to go over and above the call of duty to get in front of that person. Now, last year, I interviewed people like Dr. John DeMartini, Michael Lane, who's the founder of Success Resources, who's running events with Tony Robbins, the biggest business coach in the world, Brad Sugars, with over 1,000 franchises, guys that were worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, I was able to get in front of those people through my credibility and my stories. So I went out there and said, hey, this is what I'm doing. I'm building this podcast. It's inspiring and educating people. The backstory to that is I wrote this book and the backstory to that is this, but this is my credibility. And, those people that were at high levels, okay, this guy's no fool, would love to be a part of your show. So sometimes you need to get some runs on the board to get in front of some of those people. But I would say networking on LinkedIn is a really good place to connect with those types of people. And there's a platform called Clubhouse. That's a really good place to network with those type of people. Before Clubhouse existed, I'd interviewed nearly every person that runs the biggest rooms on Clubhouse, already guests on my show. And it's sort of like, I'd already interviewed Rob Moore. I'd already interviewed Gerard Adams. I'd already interviewed, Michael Lane and Daniel Priestley, who were running rooms of hundreds or thousands and thousands of people. So that's two really good places to network, to find those type of people. And a really good strategy that you could potentially use is you may join a mastermind of some sort of really highly influential entrepreneurs. Or I know some people have paid for a high profile guest and then leveraged their relationship with that guest and was able to get a lot more guests through there as well. So there's just a few ideas of how you can do that. And actually, there's one other way that I really, really think is a good way. For example, so to get Brad Sugars on my show, one of the biggest business coaches in the world, I leverage my relationship with a colleague of his, and I asked that person, I said, look, I'm going to contact Brad to get on my show. Do you mind that I just say that I'm a good friend of yours? And he highly respected me. So when I spoke to Brad, I said, I'm good friends with Trav. He said, you'd be great for my show. Here's my story. This is what I've done. This is a vision of my podcast. At the time, he was looking to get exposure himself. So using the proximity of your relationship with somebody else is a really good way to get in front of somebody as well.
That's amazing. That's a boatload of stuff that you just shared. And it's a wonderful story, the first one that you shared, where you had no idea who he was. And you were just a generous human being. That opened up an entire portal of stuffs where you learned from this guy, and he's very successful at what he does. That's precious. That's really, really good. And
just one thing too, like I wrote about this in my book as well. If you want to grow and evolve to be the best version of yourself, the thing that you need to do is continue to increase your human capital. And what I mean by that is to join groups with people that are doing something a bit better than you, and they can help you rise up. But when you start rising up, one of the best things that you can do is reach down and help pull someone up. So, you want to be getting mentored by people, but don't forget that you have once you start getting to a certain level, you can mentor other people as well. So just make sure that you're going out there with a good heart to help other people rise up as well.
And that's why we started the Leadership Stack podcast. I'm sure you know this, because the podcasts, it's tough. It's tough to grow. It's tough. And right now we're not making any in terms of money. We're not monetizing it. But like yourself, the relationships we've been able to build, the stories we've been able to hear, the lessons we've been able to learn alongside all of our listeners. That's the thing, that's why we do this. Now, Craig, a lot of people would say that it's hard to sell. I feel a little bit guilty in selling, and I feel like I'm not a salesperson, but I want to do business, but I feel like I'm not a salesperson. You're a very charming fella. How did you improve yourself in that area where it's so easy for you to go on stage and speak? It's so easy for you to approach someone who might be the best at what they do. You mentioned a couple of big names earlier. It's quite daunting to approach them, but you just go out of your way and do that and bag the deal because they've guessed it on your show. How do you do it? What are some lessons you have learned along the way that you can impart?
Yeah, look, I mean, sales for me, I can't sell anything, for example. I can only sell things that I believe in, So if I believe that I can add value to somebody with that product or service or whatever it is, I can pretty much sell it to anybody. And it's, just simply, it just comes from the heart. There are sales strategies, there are sales scripts that you can follow, and there are really, what you call closing strategies, for example. I'm not that salesperson. So the answer to the question for me is like, if you can be that person that becomes a raving fan of a product or service. So just similar to going to a movie, you're sitting in the movie, you're watching the movie, you're having a really good experience at the movie, you felt good afterwards. And then you go home and you say to your friend, I just went and watched Gone in 60 Seconds. It was the best movie I've ever seen. You got to go there. It's, got this and this and this. And you start naturally sharing the value of that. If you can put yourself into that position, you can pretty much sell anything. So if you go to a restaurant, I've had a good meal, I'm going to tell all my friends about it. I'll tell you one of my key strategies to grow my 5 fitness clubs, but was around this concept. I learned this in reading a book called The Tipping Point, and it was all about finding people that will evangelize your business. So when somebody walked through my business door and I was doing their induction, I'd be having conversation with them, building rapport with them. And I'd always ask them, we're a local business. Who do you think has the best cafe in the area? And if you didn't get a response, you didn't know you knew that person wasn't a really good referrer so I'm talking about referral sales here. And then they might go, you got to go to this cafe here, this barista, he makes the best coffee, he's got the best food. And I'd ask again, I'd say, do you get massages? Who's the best masseuse in the area? And then they'd start talking about their names, where best is, we went out. Then instantly in my own head, I'd be going, I found myself someone that can evangelize my business. I hadn't told them that then. So when they joined my business, what I would do is, this is a free way to grow your business too, by the way. I used to say, look, you know what I do? If you can find me 3 customers in the first month. So obviously you've got to like the product and service first. I'll give you your first month free, which is $140. And also I'll give you a product package, which is $50, which, it might be something that I've got for 20. And all of a sudden I might get 3 more customers off the back end of that. But it's because I asked the questions to find out if these people naturally referred. So that there was one of the best ways that I learned how to sell was, identify those people, but I sell naturally when I believe in what I'm selling. If I took that company with their youth enhancement products out and I replaced it with cigarettes, I wouldn't have made a sale because I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. I don't believe in it. I think it's harmful. So I can't just sell anything. It's got to be something that I see is going to add value in somebody's life.
Oh, hey, and since you're here, can you do me a favor? Can you hit on the subscribe button and hit the bell button and select all notifications so that whenever we have a new video, you're going to be the first one to know. Until then, keep leading.
To continue to grow and evolve your mindset, your skill set, everything about yourself needs to be a constant and never-ending form of growth. If you're not growing, you're dying, as I say. So I think the best leaders in the world are continually improving and leading by example.